Lupos Baseball presents the Player Development Podcast, where you run the show. I'm your host and voice, Coach Leo Young, asking experts in the field of player development for insights, advice, strategies, and your questions on how to take your game to the next level. So sit back, relax, and let us give you a roadmap to success. In the intro, I said that you run the show and that I will be your voice. Let me tell you what I mean by that. We interview all of our guests 2 times. The first interview is dedicated to their journey and all the information that I talked about in the intro. Advice, tips, tricks, strategies, do's, don'ts, and all the pertinent information that help them achieve and that you need to know so that you can get to the next level. Now, it is impossible for me to ask the guest all of the questions that I want to ask them. So, what I need from you, the athlete and the parent that supports the athlete, as you're watching this podcast and you have questions that come up that I don't ask, put them in the comment section, because on our second interview, I'm going to be dedicating that time to the questions that you put in the comment section. Maybe I missed something. Maybe it's something you wanted to ask. Maybe you want more clarification on a certain topic. Put it in the comment section, and on that second interview, I'll be sure to ask it. As you're putting those questions in the comment section, please remember to subscribe, like, and ring that notification bell so YouTube will notify you the next time we post a video. Now that you know how to support the channel and get your questions answered, let me introduce you to our guest. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Coach Jeff Hogan. Jeff is an absolute legend. He was a pro ball coach. He and I actually worked together as college coaches for many, many years. He was also a high school coach with several state championships. He was a dual sport athlete at FSU, played basketball and he played baseball. And he is going to be imparting some incredible advice, great wisdom, some excellent tips and tricks, and of course, Jeff is always good for a few funny stories. So let's get to that interview right now with Coach Jeff Hogan. All right, so Jeff Hogan, the legend, Tallahassee legend.
Depends on how old you are.
I know. What's going on, man?
I don't know, just over here seeing you get a new venture going.
Yeah.
Hoping I can get involved and help you along.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not many people know that. Those that know you. They know who you are. You're the legend. You and I worked together in college. We were college coaches together, but obviously you're a little older than I was, and
Just a pinch.
a pinch older. But we had a good time back in college. I certainly consider you my mentor in the things that I have learned through life, through coaching, and through just a gambit of different things have come directly from you. But not many people know who you are. So your name is Jeff Hogan, right?
Yes, sir.
Where were you born?
I'm an Ohio native. I come to Florida State and back in 1965, 17 years old, hadn't turned 18 yet. And I come down here on a basketball scholarship and was fortunate enough to play basketball and baseball for 4 years at Florida State.
What years were those?
1965 through 1969.
65 through 69. Okay. And what position did you play in basketball?
I was a shooting guard. They didn't bring me in to rebound, nor did they bring me in to play a lot of defense.
Okay, so your job was to score points.
I was a scorer, yes, when I came in. And I knew that if there was going to be a career out of it, it had to come out of baseball.
Yeah.
And Florida State had the best baseball team that I was offered a full scholarship to. It just happened to be in basketball.
Okay, so you played both sports. You were a dual sport athlete in college.
Yes.
You were a shooting guard.
Yes.
And then what did you play in baseball?
Shortstop, third baseman.
So you're an infielder.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Totally.
And in the lineup, what were you? Were you leadoff guy, in the middle guy, or
I was kind of a middle guy. It's kind of weird that as a basketball player, I was pretty much an average runner on the baseball field.
Yeah.
But if I had the basketball, I knew where I was going, so I could, use some of those skills. That baseball is pretty much more straightforward. And so I was a middle lineup guy and had an opportunity, after Florida State to go on and play some pro ball.
Now, at Florida State, who was your basketball coach?
Hugh Durham.
Okay.
Hugh Durham.
Strong?
Oh, yeah. Toughest guy I ever walked.
What was he a good coach?
He, at the time, I thought, he was the absolute meanest person I'd ever met. He was the toughest guy I'd ever met. And as I graduated and went on, he's also the best coach I ever had.
Okay, go. He was hard.
Oh, he was tough.
He was tough, right?
Yes,
He's one of those guys, and certainly in the 60s and 70s, that was the theme.
He wouldn't do well today.
But would you say tough but fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, so go into the style a little bit.
Well, he was a perfectionist.
Okay, so he wanted perfection.
Absolutely. And the Florida State basketball program was not great before I got there and wasn't great for a couple of years after I got there. But he was the right guy. He was meticulous. He recruited harder than anybody. He outworked he would never ask you to do something he wouldn't do himself.
Okay.
He was one of the leading scorers in the history of Florida State before he got the head coach's job. And he was the man as far as Florida State basketball up until that point.
Okay.
And that was in the 60s, late 60s.
So he asked a lot of you, more than you're willing to give, and he got it.
He got way more out of me than I ever knew I had. He didn't ask it, he demanded it.
Right.
And it's amazing how the players respected him later rather than currently.
Right.
He was so tough that we would crawl out of practice. Sometimes we would miss our meals because we didn't get to the cafeteria in time.
Right.
Athletic place.
Right.
But like I say, he would never ask you to do something he wasn't willing to do.
So what made him fair was recognizing your successes?
I think what made him fair was, I think your father could be $1 million donor.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you in the lineup.
Okay.
The way you were going to get in the lineup is you outworked, you out-hustled, you made a place for yourself.
Okay. So he was driving you to drive yourself.
Absolutely.
If you want it, you got to come get it. And I talk to our players a lot too. The toughest year they're going to have is their freshman year in college.
No question.
That is where it's all stripped away. And then we talk about this. There's baseball in high school is a sport. Baseball in college is a sport business. Baseball and pro ball is a business sport.
Correct.
So there's an innocence that gets lost, but with that loss of innocence comes a massive amount of maturity.
I would say that I come out of high school in Ohio, come to Florida. I had no earthly idea what being in shape was.
Yeah.
I had no earthly idea how to play defense. I had no idea about how to hit.
Yeah.
I had no idea about my throwing mechanics.
You're just a good player.
I had a lot to learn. I was a pretty good athlete, but I was fortunate enough to be around what I call great infield instructors, a great basketball coach, and motivator beyond imagination was Hugh Durham.
Okay. So now, basketball, you're coaching about now. Hugh Durham, now your coach in baseball was Fred Hatfield, who I was lucky enough to spend time with too. Now, Fred has passed, but his athletic career, let's go into his athletic career. He was the baseball coach at Florida State. He recruited you. He was your guy. And your mentor.
Hugh Durham was the one that recruited me.
Hugh Durham recruited you.
Right.
Okay.
Fred Hatfield got to know me after I got there.
After you got there.
I had a clause in my scholarship that allowed me to play baseball as long as I was a productive member of the team.
Okay, so that you get to Florida State as a super athlete playing two different sports. Let's talk about your baseball now for just a second, and then we're going to go right back to Hugh Durham because I know that's a big deal. Hugh Durham's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Fred, what was his background? He was a major league player.
Yes.
His nickname, I believe, was Scrap Iron.
Correct.
Because he was.
He's another tough guy.
And luckily, it's amazing, when I talk to athletes and we work with guys, when you have more, we're going to say average coaches. We're just going to use the word average coaches. You have more average coaches than you have good ones. But when you find a great one, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I found you, and I also found Fred Hatfield, the master of few words.
The biggest thing that you do as a player and as a young coach, whatever, you steal from the coaches and the mentors and the people that trained you. You steal, you pick their brain.
As much as you can.
You take everything that they have because you already know what you know.
Yeah.
So there's no need for me to go tell Fred Hatfield what I know about baseball. I'm sucking the knowledge out of him.
100%.
And so I fully believe that all good coaches are thieves, and that they steal everything they can knowledge-wise from everybody they work with. And then you save it and you come up with your philosophy, what works for you. And what works for you might not work for everybody else. You have to know your personality. You have to know how you deal with kids. So I can't emulate Hugh Durham,
right,
or Fred Hatfield.
Right.
I steal what they got, and then I have to be myself.
Right.
And then I think that's huge, because that's how you can get the trust of the kids. You've got to they have to believe in you just like you have to believe in them.
100%. And we'll talk about trust here in just a moment, because I wrote about that in the book, and that's something that you taught me as a young coach. I was in error. I wouldn't say in error. As a young coach in college, I was young and naive. And you helped me really sharpen that skill set with what we're going to talk about here a little bit. But Fred, what was Fred like as a coach?
He taught you, he treated you like a professional when you were in college.
Right. So he,
unlike Hugh Durham,
a pro ball guy.
Yes, he came from pro ball. He has an extended major league career.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he would give you what you needed to know.
Yeah. Then
you had to develop.
Right.
You could go to him with questions, anything you had, and he would give you answers. But sometimes you had to search from him. He just didn't throw things out there. And the biggest thing about Fred Hatfield was you were going to compete every pitch of every game.
Scrap iron. Scrap iron Hatfield.
He's a tough guy. We had a couple of brawls in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
The other coach didn't want nothing to do with Fred Hatfield. I assure you that. Fred Hatfield was a college football player at Troy. Yeah. Before his professional baseball career.
Yeah, I remember when he was around and you introduced me to him, and I have two people I have the same memory of. I got to meet Johnny Bench when I was a kid. Then they trained, I'm in St. Petersburg. They trained right down the street from me. So I would ride my bike and stuff. And then Fred, these are the only two people I remember this. When I shook Fred's hand, it was two of my, and I'm not a little guy. It looked like lunch boxes. Johnny Bench was the same way. I shook Johnny Bench. Now I was a kid, obviously, too. But they are abnormally large. And he was, 6 foot, 6'1"?
Yeah, they just like slabs.
But it was like lunch boxes. It was unbelievable how big, just gifted, strong he was. When was he was in his 60s when I was hanging around with him. He's still put together.
Yes, and his fingers were so thick and strong.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he was gifted with that. I don't know anybody that goes out and says, I think I'm going to make my fingers bigger.
Right, I'm going to go work.
Yeah, Fred was, he was hard-nosed, and again, didn't matter how much money you had, he was the best players play.
Yep.
That's
you want to earn it.
Yeah.
So Fred, would you say, is less interactive? Well, Hugh Durham, it's basketball, so you have to, I would imagine. I'm not
12 guys.
You've got to be in there grinding with them. Whereas baseball, we're a little more laid back anyways. But you trusted the fact that Fred had the answers. You had to go get it from him. And he gave it to you freely.
Oh, he would. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough that Fred Hatfield was my college coach until my senior year, and Jack Stallings came in at Florida State. But then I signed with the Tigers, and lo and behold, my second year in pro ball, here I am. Fred Hatfield's my manager in Montgomery in AA.
Yeah, so you had Fred Hatfield, again, a pro ball, big league, superstar. He was your collegiate coach.
Yes.
Then what round were you drafted in?
The first time I went in the 15th, the second time I went in the second.
Second round. So what were you at FSU? Stat-wise, were you kind of a middle-of-the-road guy?
Yeah, well, my junior year was very good.
Okay, power?
Not so much. I was coming out of basketball. I weighed 160 pounds.
Yeah, so you are in there. You're getting base hits. You're getting behind runners. You're getting sack flies.
Yep.
You're the guy they count on to get stuff in.
Yeah, hit 330-something with Wood back my junior year.
Yeah, because you hit with Wood then.
Broke my finger my senior year, so I had a little trouble. And the guy they put in there, we down in Miami, the day after basketball season ends, he goes in, makes 2 errors whenever I'm sitting there with a brain, and I was playing the rest of the time with a broken finger. He messed shortstop up so bad nobody could play.
Can we not do that?
No, we can't.
Get on in there and get it
Don't
figured
go out there. But that's just situation. And what am I going to say? I think I need a day off. Ask the guy that,
Wally
Pip whether he ought to take a day off.
Right. Never heard from again.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
It's Wally Pip and you got this guy Ripken. He didn't take any days off.
No.
Like, hey, Cal can play, I can play.
Right. Why am I taking a day off? You're going to play through it. And that was an expectation certainly now, or certainly then with you. Totally different time. Now, there's some remnants to that here and there, but it lies in a player so much, not necessarily an organization.
Oh, absolutely. But mostly it's in the player.
It's in the player, yeah. So you're drafted, you go to Pro Bowl. And then within 2 years, you're reunited with Fred Hatfield in the Detroit organization. Yes. Okay, yes. So that had to be great, right? Because your relationship with Fred was 50 years.
And he was the same. He's standoffish. You had to go talk to him. And some of the pro guys, depending on who they'd had the year before, whatever, they were looking for a cuddle. Fred didn't have any cuddles. Not from Fred.
No.
And so, they had to get used to the fact that he treated you like you're in the big leagues. You better take care of yourself, take care of your body, everything you got to do.
The expectations are on you. Yep. And when you get to college, and still, as I counsel with college guys, there's a job that those guys have to do. Mm-hmm. And they're on the road, and they're recruiting, and they're doing stuff, and the expectation. And if you need hugs, you're probably not going to get them in college. You're going to mature more in college, grown man stuff, because it moves fast.
The only thing I can tell you is when I was being recruited by Coach Durham, come down with another guy from Ohio. We come down, we fly in. People say, why'd you go to Florida State? Well, I got on an airplane in Akron, Ohio, and I was wearing a top coat. The wind was blowing the rain sideways. It was going to snow. I get off the airplane, I get out, and they pick me up. The guy's in shorts with sunglasses. There's a palm tree. And I'm going, if I get an offer, this is over.
This is over.
So I come down, and there was that fast. I knew.
Yeah.
And one of the day that I signed at Florida State University, until I graduated, I think the day I signed, that was the last nice thing that Hugh Durham said to me. Until I graduated. And now he and I are closer than we ever were over the 4 years that I played there.
Right. And it's amazing. You hate them. Until you understand why. Now, we're not condoning, because some coaches just beat you down and grind you, but that's not Hugh Durham.
No, he was a master motivator. I tell you.
Right.
You wanted to do anything you could to please him.
Right. So he just had the gift.
Yes, he did.
He had the gift. And
he was the best overall coach I ever had. Fred Hatfield, knowledgeable, great game caller, when to bump, when to hit, all that. Durham was the best coach I ever had.
Right. Now, what was Hugh Durham to you?
He was a guy he was a big scorer, guard at Florida State. And he, to me, I think he saw something that I had that I wasn't sure I had. Mm-hmm. I was knowing that my scholarship was for 4 years. And when I didn't make it in baseball, in basketball, I was going to go play baseball.
Right.
I was covered.
Right. Yeah, you're good.
So that's one of the way I looked at it. And then all of a sudden, I was supposed to get redshirted. One guy gets married. One guy gets hurt. One guy goes in the first round with the Yankees. Jim Lytle was a starting guard on a basketball team. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I'm not redshirted.
Right.
And then I get in, get a couple points when we need them, and all of a sudden I'm getting to play, and I'm going, hey.
Yeah.
It's a lot better.
With a pretty good group of dudes. Dave Cowles.
Especially the year after. My junior year, we got this guy come in that's in the NBA World Hall of Fame everywhere, Dave Cowles, who was my suite mate. We shared a place there, and he's the one that turned the program around, was Dave Cowles.
Yeah. Why? What made him different?
He's the toughest, besides human being. He was a bouncer in an all-black bar in Kentucky when he was 18 years old. Right. There's a starter.
Right.
He's a 6'9" redheaded guy that had no common sense at all.
Yeah.
The toughest pound-for-pound guy. Brian Lamb, don't count him. But I
met Brian Lamb.
Who I've ever been around.
Yeah.
But not only that, it's impossible to play beside Dave Cowens and not bust your tail. He just had a way of making you work harder than you think you could, and you got Coach Durham backing him up. I mean,
so those guys.
Oh, they're pulling and pushing you.
Right.
And Durham knew who our guy was. I mean, Collins ended up being the first pick by the Boston Celtics.
And a legend.
Absolutely. Biggest thing for how tough he is.
And coach.
He played coach.
Well,
yes, he coached in the
behind the
NBA.
mic, he's done all kinds of stuff.
Coached in college. He was a girls' athletic director. I mean, he's done everything.
Yeah.
He's one of my still good friends today.
Yeah.
We talk once a month at least.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you get to FSU, you have a great career, you go into pro ball,
Mm-hmm.
you're met back up with your college coach.
Yep.
You're in AA?
Double A. That was in Montgomery.
So college, high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to college, matured, learned, off you go. Now you're in pro ball.
Mm-hmm.
What was different about your college experience as a player, what you have to do, how to prepare? Now, I'm assuming because you said that Hatfield was he was a pro ball guy, a pro ball model. I would imagine it was similar to pro ball, or was it different?
It was pro ball. When you start swinging the bat for next year's pay raise,
mm-hmm.
whenever you have to perform to stay within the organization and to progress, the game changes. Like you were talking, it becomes a business
sport, right?
And biggest problem are the wives, because your husband got this much money, or mine got this money, but mine's doing better than yours, and he's doing better, and that kind of stuff. But if you could leave that all at home, and you go play, it is absolutely a changed game when you are swinging the bat or pitching or whatever for your paycheck.
Because you're not going to class.
No.
You don't have curfew.
Nope.
This is grown up
This is the real stuff.
And if you don't perform, you leave.
That's exactly right.
Because there's another guy behind you.
Yes, there is.
And there's 5 other guys behind him. So, we talk to our guys, and actually this comes a lot from what you taught me, attitude and performance. At the end of the day, that's really the only 2 things. Can we work together, and can you play?
And they have to know what your expectations are.
Yep.
And I think that's fair, that they know what you expect of them.
Yep.
And you can get some feedback from them. Each kid, I know of some coaches in this day and age, when you say, okay, this is the way this is. These are my rules. Mm-hmm. This is the way we do that. I always looked at it much differently in that if I'm running this show, I'm going to ask 24 baseball players on pro ball level. They all have to conform and do like I do. They all have to be me. They all have to do this. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm the adult. I'm the grown-up in the room.
Right.
I can adjust and treat each kid to where I can get the most out of them. So my job was to see what I could do to get to that kid to make him as good as he can be. Put him in a position where he can excel and succeed, and also in a position where my team can excel and succeed.
So smaller, little, and you taught me this too. Not big meetings. Big meetings are fine when you need big meetings, but those little 30-second conversations in the hallway during BP, the dugout.
No question.
That's where the magic is made.
Because that's where you get to close to that kid. That's not for everybody to hear or see or whatever.
Right. That's just you and me.
Yep.
And we've had those. I didn't play for you. And I wish I kind of did, because the guys that played for you, Dean Palmer, David Ross, and I got to work with Dean Palmer and David Ross as well. David Ross, Link Jarrett, Ryan Frill was that guy's done. Brian Cox. But the list for you goes on. Many pro guys. Who knows how many countless guys. Lance Parrish. And you still work with athletes, today. And the Link Jarretts and all those guys still call you like I call you.
Mm-hmm.
So it always circles back, and I want to. We're talking about that to talk about this. Those little sidebars, those little bits, those little conversations, those coveted moments of what are your goals, or
makes it personal.
That's where the trust is built.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
And I write in the book, and you taught me this, but not directly. So I've taken a theme and then I've expanded on it. I call it the currency of trust. So as an athlete and a coach, right, we trade currency back and forth every day. And that currency that we trade is trust. You trust that I'm coming to play, that I can accept your instruction, that I'm coachable, that I am the guy that you recruited now that we're in person. And I trust the fact that the information you're giving me, I can lend myself over to and get better with. And we trade that trust every day. But that trust is built from us working together, those little 30-second sidebar conversations, getting to know each other differently, more intimately, in depth as athlete and coach. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, when you're coaching, I always like to say you're the adult. Remember, I found when I was coaching in pro ball, when I was coaching in college, when I was coaching in high school, I realized college baseball players, when they get there, they need coaching way more than you possibly can imagine.
You ain't grown yet.
To start with.
And you ain't grown yet. They are away from home. It is so, and they don't want it, right?
They know everything already.
They must have. You ain't grown yet.
You go into pro ball, and I coached in the rookie league, in the Appalachian League in Bristol, Virginia. And we had Lance Parrish, who was a first-round pick. We had Mark. We had players that went to the big leagues. And when these guys, when spring training, when they're early, in June, whenever they called it the second spring training, you're out there. I never worked so hard in my life teaching and coaching infield mechanics, throwing mechanics, wearing bat planes, an approach into play, hit to fit your abilities, do all the things. And you would think that this guy got money from a scout that gave him $40,000, $50,000 that he doesn't know. You have to teach.
You have to teach him. You can't assume.
No, I never realized. I thought, well, I'm going to coach pro ball. I had no clue how much goes into the building and preparing a guy to be a big league player, for example.
Right.
It's huge.
And again, you taught me this, I go back to it. There's a huge difference between swinging and hitting.
Yeah.
And we talk to our guys the same way. Every good hitter knows how to swing the bat, but not everybody that can swing the bat can be a good hitter. So the mechanics, all tied into that, the elbows and the knees and all. So you get guys in pro ball like Lance Parrish, incredible athlete, freakishly strong. Now you have to teach him to take his swing and adapt it, put an approach with it, hit to your situation. Now the nuance, that gamesmanship, that savvy, the approach, that's hitting.
The thing about, let's just talk about Lance Parrish. Is a great example of, in fact, how much coaching you need to do. He was a first-team high school All-American, our first-round pick. He was going to be a quarterback at UCLA.
Yeah.
And we drafted him first.
Yeah.
Well, here he comes. He's a third baseman, big, strong guy. And said, by the way, we're going to convert you to catcher. Mm-hmm. You looked at, you got two heads. They threw him so many curveballs for the first 8 weeks of spring training. He would come to me and goes, if you think I'm going to stay here all summer and strike out, you're wrong. I don't care how much money I got. And they threw him so many, he adjusted. I said, no, wait.
At the plate, as a hitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're working with you as a catcher also.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered, because sometimes catchers don't hit that well. I've always wondered, these guys set up hitters. Yeah. These guys know what the pitcher's thinking. They know what, and they can do it. Why don't they hit better as a group?
Right.
And so he started learning to catch, and then he picked up, well, they're setting me up. This is how they're getting me out. Yeah. Now, and he played, 18 years in the big leagues?
Well, at a very high level.
Still, and he was an excellent catcher.
Excellent.
And he absolutely, when he first got there, they called him reject. The ball just jumped out of his glove. He hit his glove and went over there.
Right.
And we were just trying. He'd go play third, but he was working on catching. He'd been playing third in the game. We were working him in. And all of a sudden, this guy just got softer hands. He got very comfortable back there. He's a great leader.
Yeah.
And he's bigger than anybody on the club, so nobody gave him any heat.
Yeah.
So if he had a pitcher's conversation, he was in charge of it.
Right. He's got to stand on the low end of the mound. He shows the pitcher up.
It's like David Ross. You want to go have a conversation when David was catching, he'll talk to you.
Sure.
John Lester, his buddy.
Yeah.
You think that they duked it out before.
Oh, yes.
And David Ross was not afraid of Lester, and Lester knew it. That made Lester mad.
Yep.
Because Lester got all the money, and the reason Ross got in the club was because Lester asked him to go.
Yeah, that was his catcher.
So they go have their brawl, and then go drink a beer and eat.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If the pro ball is a little different.
Pro ball is definitely a little different. Yeah. It is completely different that way. But with the Lance Parrish thing, now you take you throw them 1,000 curveballs, and you can talk technique all you want. There's eventually you're going to have to stretch and condense and start to apply some of this stuff. And there's a feel that's developed over thousands and thousands of curveballs. And you can't teach it into them like that. It has to come with those reps.
The other thing is when you start recognizing pitches with the spin on the ball and the release points and where they start the ball, where it ends up, situation. And he also really helped when he decided he didn't have to swing at every one that was over the plate, that he could be a little bit more selective.
Right.
Because they was chasing him around. His butt was going to the left. His right foot's going into first base, everything.
Right.
And then as he started calming down, he started hitting some guys. And by the way, we absolutely, with that group of Parrish and Fidrich and a guy named Bobby Sykes, all big league players, we ran away with the Appalachian League pennant.
When you were coaching?
Yes, we were 51 and 17. We had 2 rainouts. We were supposed to play 70.
You were 51 and 17
right.
in the Appalachian League.
Yes. And we won the pennant by a lot.
That's a lot.
And I think we won by 10 games. We only played 70 or something.
Right. It's a different schedule now.
Yeah, they played half a season because they were all rookies.
Right.
And in that thing, that's where we had Fidrich, who
gave Fidrich, Mark Fidrich, okay?
Right.
Only played a couple years, got hurt.
Yes.
But a phenom coming up in the Detroit organization.
Absolutely.
And his nickname was Big Bird.
Yeah, the Bird.
Who gave him that nickname?
That would be me. We're at spring training, and it's the first day of spring training, and all these guys are coming in. There's rookies, got some money, but Fidrich didn't get any money because he didn't play his senior year because he was too old.
Yeah.
Had a little trouble in school.
Yeah.
And so they gave him no money, and he comes to spring training, only talked about his father.
Yeah.
And his accent. That was kind of fun. He just talked about that.
Yeah.
So he comes in.
Heavy Bostonian guy. Yeah.
Boy. So he comes into spring training, and the first thing we're out there, guys are taking batting practice, and he's shagging in the outfield with the other pitchers. He comes up to me, and in pro ball, you call people by their name.
Yeah.
Don't call him Coach.
Right.
He comes up to me and says, Coach, Mark, I'm not your coach.
Right.
I'm Hug or Jeff.
Come Jeff.
Not Coach. Okay, Coach. So he goes, I've been watching those guys. I'm a better hitter than they are. It says, Mark, you're a pitcher. Right. He goes, I know, but I know those guys, and I'm better than those guys. No, you're a pitcher. He was not happy about that at all.
Right.
Because
he's shagging. He's a pitcher. He wants to go hit.
He was a pretty good high school hitter.
Yeah.
So before he got ineligible. So now we're going to pitcher's fielding practice, PFP. Everybody does it. And he's on the mound, and they hit the ground ball to first base, and he goes flapping over to first base like he had wings. His hair is shooting out the
big
side
long hair
of his hat. I mean, his nose looks somewhat like Big Bird.
Yeah.
He had it all. The package was there. And it just said, holy crap. I said, that's Big Bird. And the manager's going there and goes, hey, he is. That was the hitting coach and the infield is
right.
coaching third. And he goes, my God, it is. I said, Big Bird. And as soon as it was that day till the day he got out of pro ball, I don't know if anybody knew his first name anymore.
Right.
It was perfect. I just happened to see it first.
Right.
Because the wind was blowing. His hair was flopping around. But
and Sesame Street had just come out.
Yes.
That was a show that just came out.
He was going to first base 150 miles an hour, putting the skids on over there. Oh, man.
Hair flapping in the wind, just going after it.
He's a
great talent, neat clubhouse guy, right?
Oh, fabulous. Because he was around everything. He was pitching. He was a closer for us.
In the Appalachian?
Yes. We had Bobby Sykes. He was a big pick. And we had a couple of guys. I think it was 52 and 17, whatever it was. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But he's pitching, and he had a bullet off on the left field. Left fielder makes a nice catch. Mark's pitching. And I turn around, I'm talking to Joe Lewis in the dugout, and all of a sudden, here goes the Bird. He's leaving the mound, dead run to left field, high fives the left fielder, and runs back to the pitcher's mound.
Middle of the game.
Right in the middle of the game. They get him the ball back. He puts it off the ball on the ground. He's scraping the dirt up and patting it in. He's patting the dirt in behind the rubber, making sure it's all neat.
Yeah.
Takes the ball. He's talking to it. He's talking to the baseball. I want you to flow low, stay on the outside corner. You got me? I want you to stay down, stay down.
He's doing that.
He's doing this right in the middle of the game. Yeah. We're beating on each other in the dugout. Look what we're seeing out here. This has never been seen before. I never seen a pitcher go to the outfield to give a high five.
Right. Through the infield, high five on an out.
On a dead run. They had to wait for him to get back.
And they had to wait for him and to hold the game. Right.
Oh, God.
But now his stuff.
He was
pretty good stuff.
Oh, yeah. His velocity was high. He's probably 80 now. But the big thing is he could throw it in the keyhole. Yeah. This guy could throw strikes in his sleep at all times. He hit the slider. Yep. When sliders weren't that prevalent then, but he could hit. He didn't give you a lot of good balls to hit, and he didn't give up a run till sometime in August in relief. Yeah. He gave up a run. The game's over. We won the game. Yeah. Crying like a baby. Sitting in the dugout, bawling. What's going on?
What are you doing?
He goes, I almost made it to September because the season's over in September. Almost made it. Couldn't believe it. He was
trying to go the entire season
without giving up a run.
And he was a month short.
And Joe Lewis, our manager, he was a great guy. He was a principal in the off season up in that area, Needham, Massachusetts area. So he got along good with Fidrich.
Oh yeah, that's what Massachusetts.
They talk the same language.
Yeah. But that's amazing.
But Fidrich, I mean, how old he was. He was a rookie. Yeah. His 21st birthday. We had to go over in the middle of the night. He was having a small soiree, a party with his friends.
Might have got a little out of hand.
Well, Lewis didn't have a car, so he said, "Hey, you can come pick me up. We got to go over." He said, "The bird's tearing up the place over there. That's a trailer park they're staying in." So I go over there. Bobby Sykes is his roommate. He's trying to take care of the bird. The bird he was out of the cage.
He was out of the cage.
So we go over there, and Joe, he's been around the organization a lot, and he goes, "Look, you got my back, right?" "Yeah, I got you, Joe."
Talking to you.
Yeah. Sykes and whatever. So we go with Bobby Sykes had not had one drop of alcohol. The bird was, I could say, he's out of the cage. We walk in, he goes, "Oh, Joe, you guys want a Heineken's?"
A Heineken's.
Oh, God.
Not a good lead.
This is not good.
Don't lead with that.
And Joe grabs him. He's slamming him around a little bit. And Joe says to Sykes and Fidrich, "You guys are going to be on the next bus home tomorrow. You are gone and out of here." Yeah. Here comes Sykes. Yeah. Sykes hadn't even had a beer. Yeah. I'm stepping between. That's what Joe wanted me for, because he knew.
Right.
And now they're not.
Because Joe's a little guy.
Yes.
I met Joe.
Yeah,
a long time ago. Met Joe, yeah.
So those two guys are not little. Right. And Joe's got me. Right. I'm going, this is not turning out what I am.
I don't want to be here.
And then I realized, wait a minute, these are our two top pitching prospects. Right. We're not sending them home because the guy has a couple of cold ones.
And he's 21. I mean, he's not doing anything illegal.
So I said, okay, I get everything calmed down and grab. Yes. It's going to work itself out. Don't hurt anything. Yeah. So we got everything. We bring dinner tomorrow. He says, okay, I talked to Detroit. We're going to let you stay. He ain't even told Detroit. I can assure you that.
Right.
But the bird, he was the greatest guy to be around.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine.
Tell you, another one's a great guy, player guy, manager. Jim Leland was a class act. Love that guy.
I don't think any of the guys that I know, which pales in comparison to the guys that you know, obviously, there is not a no word that can be spoken of Jim Leland.
You want to talk about a tough guy? Yeah. Go look at the thing with him and Barry Bonds when he was the manager in Pittsburgh.
In spring training or whatever.
Infamous.
Right.
He was
ready.
He didn't care. Jim didn't care anyway.
Right. Now, did you play together, you and Jim?
No, I was a little older, but I went to college. Okay. He did not. But Jim was an assistant coach in not in Lakeland. The next year I played pro ball in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Okay. He was assistant there, and then he moved into a manager's position in Lakeland, and he went through the system fast.
Well, he was really good leader.
You talk about demanding and yet just a great guy.
So let's dive into that a little bit, right? So pro ball managers, different game, different
play a lick.
Right. Little guy, not a big guy.
Couldn't throw, couldn't hit, couldn't run, nothing, no power.
What made him so good at what he did?
When he got hired on as assistant coach, he just outworked everybody.
Okay.
He
learned.
Oh yeah, he was in Hoot Ever's office every time the door opened. You talk about sucking everything from the knowledge out of everybody. Jim Leland got everybody's everything.
So he committed.
Oh, that's his
fully.
life.
This is what I'm going to do.
He should be a book. This is a life of a baseball guy. That's Jim Leland.
So it's interesting in my the final words in my book. I described that there's 3 types of baseball players: those that like it, those that love it, and those that can't live without it.
That was him.
He can't live without it.
No, he's still messing around, being in front offices and working with the league and that kind of. It's like him and LaRusso are they can't do anything.
Right. This is what we do, and they don't both do it. It's such an elite level of that connectivity, that connection between athletes.
And he's just so laid back.
Yeah.
Like off the field, sitting around having a scotch or whatever.
Whatever he does.
Yeah,
right?
and just sit back and just chill out, but yet there's something burning inside of him. He's very similar to. He ain't afraid of nothing.
Right.
I mean, obviously Barry Bonds could have eaten him. A lot.
Probably given up 6 inches of height and everything else.
And some roids kicking in there.
Right, who knows? Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So you got to work with Leland, okay? Leader, straight away.
Just a baseball guy.
Connected baseball guy, and really worked well with the athletes.
Biggest thing that I think I would say I pulled from Leland was his ability to talk to the players and make them feel important, even though not everybody's a starter.
No.
But he's going to make you still feel like you are just as important as everybody.
No lost sheep.
No. He was, that was huge with him. I think that's part of the reason he was so successful as a manager. He would get guys, he'd keep them playing. It's kind of like the guy does in Tampa Bay right now. He plays.
Cash does a great job.
He keeps them going.
Yeah.
And you tell me those guys have run through wall for Cash.
Unbelievable.
Just so happens he's an FSU guy too. Which
kind of nice one of our guys, right? Yeah.
And I played with Cash's cousin, Ron Cash, who was an FSU player also.
Yeah.
That got to the big leagues. Actually, one of the reasons I retired was Ronnie Cash kind of moved right in front of me. Could really hit,
right,
and had kind of a tragic ending. Ronnie,
yeah.
But it's actually the game was made for Jim Leland.
Right. So like those guys, they're the best time to watch them coach is not when the game's going on.
Oh gosh, no.
They're coaching when the game's not going on.
David Ross,
same way. I've known David. You introduced me to him when he was in the 8th grade. We got to work with him, and he was one of your high school guys. But not all the coaching, but the managing is done from pitch to pitch. The coaching is done before and after.
And not only that relationship and trust that we talked about earlier is so important because David will tell you the truth. There are certain guys you are not going to start ahead of Contreras catching.
Right.
Not this year, probably not. But you can be a valuable member of this club by whenever I need to rest him. Right. You can go up, I need a left-handed pinch hitter, I do whatever. Right. This is your job.
Right.
And again, you're being honest.
Yep.
So you got their trust.
Yeah, that authenticity is so critical because when it comes off inauthentic, athletes can smell it. Coaches don't realize how, because we play so intuitively and with such a degree of an emotional engagement, when it's inauthentic, it is so, and the athlete may not be able to, older athletes can say, nope, I'm not buying that.
You talk about inauthentic and different people, different times, and you look at the people that you just look and respect so much, and I would say Dick Hauser, I would say, just people that you talk about another great guy. Yeah. Authentic, good guy. Billy Martin, no.
Not a little different.
No,
Billy was a little different.
Billy Martin.
That was tougher.
No, it's just if you sucker punch somebody.
He runs on his own.
Oh, God,
that was a little. Style. Yeah, Billy had his own style, and that was didn't match.
No,
not a match.
Not with pretty much anybody.
It was hard. That's hard. Yeah, I get that. Now he did well. But he did it in a different way.
Never play in this era.
No, and that's not the way we do it. That's not the way the guys that you went with did it. They just did it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about your competitiveness. And this is something that comes up quite a lot. And not necessarily your competitiveness, but competitiveness in general. Many people talk about, and you hear them talk, and you're around the field a lot today, and I'm still around the field, and you hear adults say how competitive they are. When they're talking about how competitive they are, they're typically not. They just want to win. Because we talk about the necessity to compete. When we judge that, we look at guys going, he's not competing. He needs to compete. Dive into competitiveness. Let's talk about that.
I think there's a couple of different ways to look at it. I was in a situation, I can just use me for example. My dad and I were not close when I left Ohio. That's why I went 1,000 miles. That's one of the reasons, plus the palm tree.
Sure.
And so whenever I was getting ready to go to Florida State, I can remember him saying when they thought I was asleep, oh, don't worry about it. He'll be home by Christmas. Mm-hmm. I'm a freshman, going 1,000 miles, and I heard it. Mm-hmm. There's another thing that'll make you more competitive, and that's fear of failing. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to fail. I'm going to bleed out here.
Right.
And I'm going to compete beyond my abilities because I don't want to be known as a failure. That guy was coming home by Christmas. That's one. And the other guys, Brian Lamb, a guy we know who was my good friend, is a great scouting career.
Right.
Not a great hitter. He could run a little bit, but that's a competitive sucker. He was an All-American wrestler in college. Tough guy.
Right.
That is a competitor. Dave Cowens was born to compete.
Right.
And a lot of people wouldn't realize this. Dean Palmer. He's a really nice guy. He'll break your legs if he has to win.
Having been knowing Dean for 20 years, there's a change, there's a look. When it starts to happen, and his father, very competitive in a very different way, great guy.
He'll hurt you.
He is a thunderously large human being, still to this day.
He's a legend.
He is a legend, of course.
In Tallahassee. He went to
absolute legend.
Boys school, more than he did high school.
Yeah.
He had a few problems.
But Dean, and also David as well, his brother, but there is I call it the monster. It's a monster that comes out of these guys.
He's in there.
And it feeds. And you got to feed it something. And it's something at stake. So for you, I'm going to say like loss aversion. I'm not losing. I'm averse to loss.
I can't.
Can't take it. Can't take it.
Because I knew it was the next step toward whatever career I had might be ending. Because not being gifted, 6'1" shooting guard,
6'1"
shortstop, average speed.
Hitterish.
I'm trying to hang around.
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can with the education I got. But I got to outwork. I got to think. I got to steal somebody's knowledge. To make myself better.
Yeah, and then go apply it.
It's kind of weird. When I realized that Hatfield is the one that he hooked me up at Troy State. I went to Troy State. When I left Montgomery, drove right down the street to Troy, and went in as assistant basketball and baseball coach at Troy, right out of pro ball.
So you
Fred Hatfield made that call for me after I retired.
After you retired from pro ball?
Yes.
You immediately started coaching?
Yes.
In Troy?
Yes.
Fred Hatfield, we're going to get you set up?
Yep.
Off you went.
Then I finished my year at Troy, got my master's degree in 9 months, actually.
Nice.
I'm sitting there, I'm finishing up my master's degree, the phone rings. It's the head of the minor league system with Detroit. He calls and he goes, hey, Hootie Evers said this, Fred Hatfield said that. You want to coach?
Who was Hootie?
Who Evers?
Hootie.
He was the farm director.
Farm director. Okay,
big,
so he's organization
long,
guy.
Big league.
Organization guy.
Yeah. And he goes, you want to coach in Bristol in the Appalachian League with Joe Lewis? I said, it was because I was finishing up.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I did.
Yeah.
So I went from college coaching to pro coaching, out of pro baseball, back into pro baseball in 9 months. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we ran away with that penny.
How long did you coach in pro ball?
Only coached 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, I had my master's degree, and I kind of said, okay, where do I want to live? I was in Tallahassee. I played ball here, and my wife teaching here. So it's like, where would I want to go? I want to go back there. I love that place.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah.
So then I've been here ever since.
Now, the one thing too, though, and I'm going to brag on you a little bit here. You said you were role-playing, kind of get it done baseball guy. But on the basketball court, you didn't do too bad. You held the points record at FSU from when you set the. Now this is before the 3-point line.
Well,
And I know this is a baseball podcast, but it's player development, so we're going to talk about this anyway. There was no 3-point line when you were shooting,
No.
right? Your job was to score points. That was your
pretty
job.
much.
Right. Okay.
I was trying on defense.
Right, to get in the way a little bit.
My feet were heavy.
So how many points did you score in your career?
Well, when I played, we could only play 3 years. You had a freshman team, which played freshmen from other schools in the D1s.
Right.
And we played JUCO.
Yep.
So my sophomore year, I started, thinking I was getting redshirted. Well, my career, I scored almost 1,200 points in 3 years in about 75 games. So about 15 a game, which puts me average per game up kind of high because these guys aren't staying very long.
Right.
And they don't, like with Hamilton, they don't get to play that much.
Right, no, completely different.
And so when if I didn't miss some shots, Collins couldn't lead the nation in rebounding, so I had to shoot.
Right.
And so, I was a scorer, and Collins was a rebounder.
You don't want to say how many points you scored.
I average about, I scored around 1,200, but I
1,200.
scored, high school, I scored a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, you were what accolades did you have in high school?
I'm in some fairly good Hall of Fames around different places.
So you were
in Ohio and
pretty well recognized
Florida
there.
State, and some coaching stuff. But the biggest thing is, and I not ever do I ever shortchange this. When you have David Rosses, you have Dean Palmers, and you have Link Jarrett's. Those they will make you have to be a good coach. You couldn't help but be.
Right.
Fred Hatfield's grandson played for me, Jay.
Yeah.
Great player. I mean, I look over and I say, look at these guys in Florida High where I coached the high school part.
So you coached pro ball, got out of pro ball, Troy, been a pro, got out, and then you were a high school coach.
Yep, for 13 years.
13 years.
Coach basketball before that.
Okay. And that's when you had all of these. In fact, actually, one year, the entire starting infield at Florida State University was your infield from high school.
For a while, yes.
Yeah, Kevin McRae.
At first.
Alan Beavis.
Second.
Link Jarrett.
Short.
Nandy Serrano.
Third.
All of those.
We had a backup catcher named McKelly Bertoldi on the team, too.
When McKelly was on that club as well.
I'm close to today.
And as am I.
That's a guy that should coach for a living.
At a high level.
Yep. He is excellent.
He absolutely is excellent. And
I call him all the time.
He is so laid back. And when and this is a mark too, and you can't say, well, what makes a good coach, what makes a bad coach? Okay, but one of the things you look for, and Fred got on to me about this. Fred jumped my butt one day at TCC when I was coaching at TCC. I was working. It was during the summer, and we had that summer program with our guys and other college guys and whatever, and that was my program. And I was working on the crossfoot play at third, slow roller, play at third. And I'm talking. And finally it's over. And Fred goes, stop giving them a science lesson. If they want to know about that, they'll ask. Just show them how to do it. And then do it again and again and stop giving them a science lesson.
That's Fred. He's to the point.
It's how little can you say that paints the most vivid picture. That's McKelly Bertoldi. That's you too, by the way. It's simple. How simple can you make it?
Yeah.
When you get going, when you get wordy, you lose yourself.
The other thing about McKelly is this. You talk about it, he has stolen everything from everybody, and it's here.
Oh, yeah.
And we can talk. I went to an FSU game with him. He's got some seasons. We sat up there and he sees the game different.
Yeah.
Like Link sees the game different. Nandy Serrano saw it different.
Right.
A lot of people say
Nandy's still in baseball.
Was he like agent?
Agent, I think, player development, something like that, but still in baseball.
The biggest thing is we would sit and we would look at this thing that way, look at that what we had going there, and then how are you going to deliver that to your guys so they'll remember?
See, the coaching that happens off the field.
Right. And the other thing is making those guys maybe that aren't superstars feel just as good. And one of the ways that I've done it and I still do it, I think it's helped, was like I gave Fidrich the nickname the Bird, is to give a guy a nickname that doesn't have to be the star. We had a little catcher.
Right, or derogatory.
Right. We had a guy that was a little catcher. His name was Del Papa, Ronnie Del Papa. Mm-hmm. But he reminded me of Boo Boo on
the bear.
Yeah.
The Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear. He reminded me of Boo Boo. So everybody calls him Boo Boo. He didn't hardly ever get to play as a bullpen guy. We're down in Orlando. We'd already clinched the pennant in the minor leagues in the Double-A that year. We're playing down in Orlando. So Boo Boo gets a start. He wasn't on the roster.
Yeah.
And the guy, his parents are there and everything. He's getting a start. He's from Detroit area. So the guy comes down and says, Del Papa, what's his first name? Boo Boo. So he gets his first start.
You put his nickname out to the PA guy.
He gets his first start in the minor leagues and over the PA system and the starting and batting in the 8-hole, Boo Boo Del Papa. And he just dropped his head. And then he realized what I tell you, it was pretty funny.
It's funny. It is funny.
But I mean, he felt part of just having a nickname.
Well, right. There's some validation there.
Yeah.
You also have been known, and I never had thought of this until you and I started working together. You'll give a nickname specifically, strategically to a player so he has to earn it.
Yes.
Give me an example of
Casey
that.
Kidd.
Casey Kidd. So Casey Kidd,
I compared Casey Kidd to Oral Hershiser because I know that Tommy Lasorda nicknamed Oral Hershiser a bulldog because he wasn't.
Because he wasn't.
He was not.
Now, say it again. He gave him a nickname, the Bulldog, Tommy Lasorda.
Yes.
To draw out of him what he needed, the Bulldog. And then what ended up happening to Oral Hershiser?
He started being a Bulldog.
He earned his nickname.
I told Casey, Big Game Casey.
Big Game Casey.
Yeah.
Little guy.
Left-hander.
Didn't throw hard.
No.
All his pitches did the same thing.
Yes.
Wasn't much of nothing.
But he
gamed up.
He started and went 4 innings in the state all-star game, or the state championship game that we won, and Hardy Jackson come in and cleaned it up.
Right. And yeah, that was
Big Game Casey.
Big Game Casey. And that's so, because sometimes you give a guy a nickname that's derogatory, they'll also earn that.
You steal it.
You got to be careful.
You have to steal different things.
Yeah.
And be careful about what you do.
Yeah.
Some guys, if the guy struts like a peacock and he's too cocky, maybe you'll stop it.
Right. You also, and this is, again, we're talking player development. So these are the nuances. Mm-hmm. This is the pull the curtain back. This is behind the scenes stuff. What message are you sending? That was a resounding theme from you for many years. What message are you sending? So when you're talking to the athletes, it's not the words that you're saying. What message are you sending holistically through your body language and kind of everything? That's that communication part that is really coaching. If you can't communicate well with your athletes, you're going to have a hard time coaching. Right?
I think it's expectations. You let them know what your I wanted my guys to not let me down.
Okay.
Because my expectations for them are very high. There are a lot of cases now where I have a kid, maybe that this is current, that I can see that he's kind of tough on himself or whatever, or he's hard on himself or this or that. And my
little self-punishing.
My go-to
is,
I got to tell you something. I work with maybe 30 kids right now, and you're the only guy that I think is a better hitter than you think you are. Everybody else thinks they're better than they are.
Yeah.
And I think you're better than you think you are.
I think you're better than you think you are.
Right.
So that little kid that's hard on himself, that's self-loathing.
And he goes, hey, maybe I'm whatever.
Well, what a great tool.
Yeah. And that's, hey, look, you got to get off your own butt.
Right.
Give yourself a break. 3 out of 10 times, you're successful. Anything else you do 3 out of 10 times, you're going to get fired. You can't shoot free throws and make 3 out of 10.
No, you can't get 3 out of 10 on the math test.
No. So you're in trouble.
Yeah.
3 out of 10 in baseball, then you are successful. And if you are going to act like a butthead, 7 out of 10s, nobody wants you in that dugout.
No.
There's part of being a good teammate with how you can handle your failures.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the thing right now, dealing with those, I think it really helps me, that resonates, is to let them know I think they're better than they think they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, hey, he thinks I can play.
Right. I've got more in here. And,
yeah.
And now you give them a framework to kind of work in. You frame it up for them.
And it just helps me.
Yeah. How important, and again, this is, I recognize this in the book, recognizing their accomplishments and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Don't forget you play baseball.
You play baseball, right. And many in high school programs, college programs, pro ball, very different. Some coaches, and I'm getting this return from my players that come back during the summer and we work together and stuff like that. And it's, man, I mean, I can't do anything right for this guy.
Yeah.
I can't do anything right for this guy. The recognition that, and it doesn't have to be much. It doesn't, right? We don't need
Hatfield,
a lot.
for example.
Okay, go ahead.
Hatfield, he's the kind of guy who goes, you remember, I think I hit a ball in a gap one night and won a ball game in Hatfield, in about as big a whatever. He goes, you got that one okay, didn't you? You just walked over there.
Yeah.
I just won the ball game here with the double. I said, a little something for the other.
A little something, right.
But I knew what he said.
Right.
He usually doesn't. And he also wouldn't check, if you boot one, hey, haven't you ever booted one before? That's how it works.
Right. He was that.
Yep.
Straight through. But when you got a little.
160 games like he did his whole life.
Right.
No.
Right. You got a little, though. It meant a lot.
Yes.
And you have
to know who it is.
Right.
Coming from Fred, that was a lot.
Right. Now, coming from me, it's the same thing. I mean, I've worked with you for a long time in college, and I've seen you, working with guys. It's the same thing. They got to earn it.
Yeah.
But you give it to them when they get it. That's part of that authenticity. When they earn it,
got to be a payday.
They got to know. Right. You got to get paid off with some recognition and fun.
Absolutely. You play baseball. You work hard at being a good player. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And you work hard at being a good basketball player. But there's another thing. Let's take Leo Jr.
Yep.
There's Leo Jr. over here. He's not very good right now. And he's trying out for the high school team. And he's wanting to catch. And there's a couple of the guys over there. Well, he realizes what he's going to do. He's going out. He gets himself in shape. Mm-hmm. He's going out and he's working on his throwing. He's got somebody working with him hitting. All of a sudden he comes out there and he knows it's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. And he makes that team. Now, he's not the starting catcher. That guy's a success. He has learned that hard work is going to pay off. And sometimes it may take another year.
Yep.
But that hard work and whatever that you did, it's going to carry over way past baseball.
Right.
And then, so the other guy, now here's a real talented guy here. I think he ought to be starting. But, he's a little late to class. He doesn't come out here and work that hard. And he's kind of played himself out of position. That guy, even though he's played and he's better than little Leo, that guy ain't got anything out of this.
No, he's missed the point.
You want to reward the performance. And then some guys should be all city, some guys should be all state, some guys should be playing in college. And you have to decide where you land.
Right.
And don't be so hard so I didn't go to the big leagues. I would love to say I got hurt. I didn't get hurt.
Right.
I came up short.
Yeah.
And most everybody I see, and a guy goes, the Cardinals are going to draft me, and I hurt my elbow. And the guy walks across the room, he's lying.
Yeah.
First place, he doesn't walk like an athlete. In the second place, the Cardinals, they don't know what round they're going to take you in anyway. And that scout you talked to probably retired 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You just make stuff up.
Right.
So
I get injured.
Everybody.
Well, the career is often not, we don't always, most of the time the career ends unceremoniously. We don't get to make that decision.
Sure.
And, it's because we have a time limit. It's 5 to play 4. And in pro ball, if you're not moving up in 4 years, it's likely you're moving out.
Yep. And it's, the biggest thing is, also you got to realize in the minor leagues now, and they start investing a bunch of money in somebody, they're going to let that guy fail.
A lot. He's going to get at-bats. He got $8 million. That cat's going to be in the lineup no matter what.
We had a first-round draft pick catcher named Mappin. That guy never got out of A-ball. They got a lot of money.
But he got at-bats, didn't he?
And another guy was Tanner, another first-round pick. That guy was a village idiot. I don't know. There wasn't no rules. Who gave him that money? Jeez.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the guys. Oh, I got hurt, and that got me out of pro ball and things. And we see this a lot. And this is one of the things that you shake your head a little bit. Just because they played in pro ball, right. Just because they played in college, just because they came to the big leagues, does not automatically make them a good coach.
No. Willie Mays can't even balance his checkbook. I mean, come on, Willie right. Coach, Mickey Mantle couldn't. They're so talented, they could just do it.
I think Michael Jordan wouldn't coach for that reason.
How is he going to? His expectations.
Right.
He's a freak. Right.
He can do things that other humans at that level.
That's why you can't take Hauser, take Billy Morton, take Lasorda. Lasorda was a left-handed relief pitcher in the minor leagues.
Right.
They had to work so hard and learn so much. To me, superstars. Frank Robinson was decent. Mm-hmm. Not well liked. But he was a decent manager. Mm-hmm. Dusty Baker, pretty good. Mm-hmm. Always had talent. I think Dusty is overrated.
Always had talent. Always had talent around.
Always had players.
But those you have to, and this is when you get on to me as a coach, and I thank you for this. Certainly, you get on to me about this. You have, if you're going to coach, if you're going to for real coach and make a difference in the lives of athletes, you have to resign the fact that you're no longer a player. You cannot compete anymore that way, or else you end up competing against your players.
No, you don't do that.
Instead of competing against your ability.
And we know somebody like that.
And we know many people like that. So it's kind of, when I'm talking to my guys and things like that, is he competing with you? He's not comfortable with his career.
You're not a player.
You're not a player anymore. Nope. If you don't retire, put that to bed, you compete, you're an adversary to your players. And then you don't recognize their successes, and it's no flippin' fun.
No. And the other thing is, if in fact you want to go demonstrate, these kids are not stupid. You better be good at it.
Right. Don't demonstrate.
Don't you go out there and say, this is what your jump shot should look like, and you look like Ned. Right. You don't want to do that.
No, don't do that.
Nor, I haven't swung a bat at a pitched ball in 25 years.
Right.
But I will show them little.
Sure. Yeah.
Little stuff. Here's your bat plan.
Right.
But no, I'm not going to demonstrate. Hey, my eyes aren't that good. I'm 76 years old. Not
doing that.
I'm not giving you guys a shot at that.
Don't do that. And you can't take it back.
No.
That's toothpaste.
Because they'll tell everybody.
They'll tell everybody. Especially now.
Yeah. You seen Hogan swing? Whoa.
Holy smokes.
Oh, God.
That's not so good.
I thought he was just fat. I thought he was uncoordinated, too.
That's awesome. Oh, I want to touch on something here just real quick, and then we're going to transition to some story time, some bus stories. Mechanically, so let's kind of do a little nuts and bolts kind of thing, because everybody does things differently and everybody coaches things differently, and the end result is always the same: successful hitting, successful pitching, whatever the case may be. Whatever you're coaching, doesn't matter. You're the hitting guy, you're the infield guy. Okay, I'm the catching guy, I'm the hitting guy. That's our expertise, right? So, hitting. How much of it is just rote mechanics, elbows, kneecaps, all of this repeatable, mechanized function versus intuitive, creative, dynamic ability to adapt those things?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I can teach my grandson.
Yeah. Cooper.
The older one.
Jake.
Great swing. Mm-hmm. Just put it down right here. We can do a little hitting tape here. Here's how you swing the bat. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be a hitter. If you've got to have those tools, and if you've got the tools, then you hone them. You cannot, there's only a few guys, the freaks, so to speak, that can just, like Donaldson. What does that guy do? I don't even know what that guy's doing. Right. But he can.
Ken Jr.,
Yeah, they just can't.
They just can't. And our game is so different that way. Round bat, round ball. Defense has the ball. Elevated mound. 9 against 1. It really does equalize out that freak talent. But when that freak walks up,
when you've got the freak like an Aaron Judge who is also mechanically sound,
right?
He's taught the right way to enhance all those tools that he was given.
And it's specific to Aaron Judge.
Oh, Aaron Judge doesn't hit like Rod Carew did.
No, Rod Carew is dead front foot.
And he just slapping it all over the place.
Slapping all the way there. Clemente.
Switches feet on every count. Who's pitching?
Right. Ichiro slid through the zone.
Oh, God, you did everything wrong.
It is one of those things where you got to look, what does it feel like? Tell me what it feels like. You got to be able to describe what it feels like, right? And does it work? At the end of the day, is it going in the gaps?
What is your approach? Your approach has to fit you.
And
I work with the kid today. He's a 6 foot, 2.5 inch, 14-year-old kid. Got some great bat speed. He grounds out to third base more times than anybody in the history of Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Our little league, or Babe Ruth league here.
Yeah.
And we constantly can go and we're working on, working the middle half away. It's not that, it's just making it, let it get back here.
Yeah.
But this guy's got so many tools, I'm not going to restrict what he's doing because that bat's screaming through that zone.
It's almost like the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
Right.
Never break a swing down, only build a swing up.
Right. And if you have to say, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And be careful. Sometimes you can throw a placebo in there.
Sure.
When you get a talented kid, you go, I've been watching you. You're just taking your eyes off the ball right before contact. Guy goes up, watches the ball, goes, hey, I'm back.
Right.
Well, obviously, you're supposed to look at the ball, get the bat.
Right.
And so, it's not exactly making something up, but sometimes it'll work.
It'll shift the focus, kind of thing, some attention, that kind of
stuff. Get off of what's been bothering you.
Right.
And I also encourage guys to make a note card of the things that they're going through their head when they're hot. Mm-hmm. Not when you're not. I want your note card to look, limited stride. It's getting the foot down early enough. And,
find the time.
Yeah, getting what was working and what I was thinking about when I was cooking.
Right.
And if you can do that, then you're allowing yourself a go-to.
Yep. We call it, and you taught me a lot of this as well, I call it cues. It's a cue.
Yeah.
And it's just an educational thing. So lead shoulder of the ball. That's a cue.
You could
long
cue yourself.
Cue. Right. And I'll have guys, you'll have guys that struggle with one thing. Like I've got a college guy right now, very shouldery, lots of shoulder action, really struggles staying on the ball until it comes out. So lead shoulder to the ball is written on his batting glove, LSTB. Mm-hmm. So when he takes that swing, when I said know what it feels like, he takes that long, lunky swing with the lead shoulder flies out, he steps out.
Oh, yeah.
Looks at his batting glove, and the next one could be hit to the moon.
Laser.
Right. Those little, it's less than people think.
Oh.
It's just, but it takes somebody with an eye that is more than just squashing bugs and knocking knuckles. It's bigger. That's swinging. That's
and when
different.
You say it's less than people think, you're going to think of it is so much less than people think that it only takes a quarter of a second about for the whole thing.
The whole thing to happen.
So how many freaking things can you think about in a quarter of a second?
All of this has to happen.
So let's go simple.
Yeah.
Let's go simple. And you can just, it's also nice if you have somebody on your team that sort of knows your swing. Mm-hmm. A guy that you hit with. And he can just say, hey man, remember what Hogan told you?
You're big.
Yeah, your swing is so long. It's all arms,
Yeah.
You're not, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they can talk to each other. Just having that guy to go to. Right. Or you say, man, your swing is really sweet right now. Your hands are just so relaxed and fast. And, it's just make it easy on yourself. Keep it simple.
And that's on the website. Every hitter has the same problem. Hitting is hard.
Sure it is.
All hitters at all levels, hitting is hard. So what do? We make it easy. That's the only job you and I have. That's it. At the end of the day, our job is to make it as easy as possible for a game that is designed to be 70% unsuccessful to an offensive, as easy as possible for him to get that 30%.
You're good if you're 30.
You're good if you're 30.
The other thing, you got all that stuff going on in your mind, running past patterns, and you got snakes crawling out of your ear. Your mom's hollering at you.
Yeah.
You stink, and your dad's like dog cussing you. He probably never played.
Right.
But it's like all these things going in your head. You got to just, and Norvell talks about the noise out.
Yeah.
Get rid of the noise.
Yeah. It's hard. And that we talk about, that's part of the approach. And I read again about this in the book. Going from the hole into on deck, there's a process you must have there to clear that mechanism.
Yeah.
And it is so critical. And you talked about Hatfield, every at bat, every pitch. That's the expectation, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it one time and expect it to happen when the game's on the line. You have to make that part of your routine.
And the other thing is, people that talk about, remember Ortiz, Big Poppy, clutch hitter. Well, I mean, he did. But if you can just perform under pressure, it's the same as you do when it's not the pressure situation, you're a pretty good player.
Yeah.
If you can come through, and obviously a kid makes the last out of a game with the guy on second, he lost the game. No, he didn't.
There were 27 outs before him.
Yeah, come on. That's not, but kids will do that.
Yeah.
And other kids will say things. They're so cruel.
Well, and you're
if
naked.
If you'd caught that pop-up,
right?
we'd have won the game.
Right.
The kid already feels bad.
You're so exposed, you can't hide behind equipment. You're completely exposed out there. But yeah, and in college, we ran simulation after simulation after simulation. So you do your series work, your mechanical work, and then you're doing your, you move on to your toss and BP where you're doing the dynamic swing features and things. And then you start simulating stuff. Your approach. And David was talking about this. The guys coming up now to the big leagues don't apply an approach like they should. And, David will talk about he wasn't a very good hitter. He wasn't too bad.
He was as good under pressure as he was not under pressure.
He had some pretty big hits. He only had 2 World Series rings, right?
That's all.
That's all he's got, 2 World Series rings.
He won in places they never won before.
Right. In 2 teams that haven't won in thousands of years.
Right.
But he was kind of frustrated talking about it. There's a really good interview with him, and I forget which game it was. Maybe he was playing the Indians, where he had a walk-off home run. And if you watch the video, what I'll try to do is I'll try to find that video and link it in the description here. And when he is describing the approach he is using to get that game-winning home run center field, I forget exactly.
That was that left-handed reliever that nobody touched.
That nobody touched.
It's about 670s, yes.
Downhill and just sinking and got one. And so
I had that poster in my garage.
Oh, he smoked that ball.
Yeah. That
ball was gone. But it's so interesting. If you're not applying an approach, it's really hard to be successful. And that approach changes from pitch to pitch, count to count. You especially if you get into college. And the College World Series is going on right now, and we watched Florida walk off last night.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful job those Florida hitters did. Did you watch the game?
My thing ran out. I taped it, and it went past. And I taped.
Sully, what a great job. If he's coaching the hitters or whoever's coaching, those kids, the approach that they had in that 9th inning, in Omaha, calm, cool, waiting it out, and did home run, out, home run.
How about the catcher? He's not going to play pro.
Right.
He's going to go to work in Tampa.
That is such a testament to mature athleticism at its highest.
I think O'Sullivan does a great job.
I think he does a great job.
He was in the hot seat not long ago.
No, he was. If you watch that game, what a body of work certainly exhibited in that game.
They got some arms too.
That was
kids going to Thomasville through the next game.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Let's tell some stories. My favorite time, and I'm going to start. I'm going to tee you up for this one, and we're going to go back to basketball. So we were in, I don't know where it was, but it was our first big fall road trip, and I think we were going to Cochran, Georgia, or something like that. And we're on the bus. Coach is sit up front, and I've got my gear out, all my scout books, and I'm working up all the the pitching approaches and stuff like that. And I finally got a little buggy, and you were sitting over there, and I said, and I forget exactly what sparked the conversation, but something had happened in the big leagues a couple of days before, and guys were really trash talking each other, and a fight broke out and all that kind of stuff. And I asked you, I said, hey man, you see that? I said, did you ever run your mouth? Did you ever talk trash? And you said, yeah, once.
Is that the Maravich?
Yes.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
This was the greatest part about this was as the story starts going, the kids from the back start making their way up to listen to the story because you can hear it throughout the whole bus. So you were playing basketball. You were a young player at this time, right?
Well, actually, it was my junior year.
So you were.
We had a very good team.
That was with Cowens.
Cowens was on that team.
And you, okay.
We're playing against LSU, who the leading scorer in the country at that time was Pete Maravich.
Unbelievable. Everybody knows Pistol Pete Maravich.
Unbelievable. Is right. His dad's a coach.
Yep.
And so we were good. And we were pulled out a little bit, and about 8 minutes into the game, back at that time, Pete had a two-handed set. This was a long time ago, but he would look it off, and he would get you to back off, and he'd shoot a two-hand set. Well,
two-hand set is a two-handed jumper.
Yeah, no, it's set shot. You just
grab and send it.
He's the only guy that did it in that era at all.
Okay.
So here's our bench right here.
Okay.
Hugh Durham and company.
You're right near the line.
Right there.
Yeah.
On the side. And Pete picks the ball up, and I backed off of him because that was my job that night. I had Maravich, and this story gets better.
So Pete said, or Hugh Durham said, you got Maravich.
Yeah, we're man-to-man. I'm guarding Maravich, and he hadn't scored for 8 minutes.
So he hasn't scored.
8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Right.
You're on him.
I got him.
You're shutting him down.
He's mine.
Locked out.
I back up a step. I said, too far, Pete. As I said, too far, Pete, he set his hands and threw the ball in from about 35 feet.
Yeah.
Tore the bottom of the net up on the way through.
Steph Curry length.
Unbelievable.
Just drained it.
Here's Durham.
Yep.
I ain't looking.
Yep.
I am not looking over there. He smashed his clipboard on the bench. The kids flying all over the place. We got a timeout coming.
Right.
He's got me by the shirt in the timeout, and I'm getting shredded.
Yes.
But the biggest thing, he was right.
Right.
I told you he hadn't scored for 8 minutes.
You woke him up.
He finished the first half with 21.
21 points.
I still had him.
You still had it.
The whole idea was we weren't going to let Pete get the ball back after he threw it to somebody else. So I'm trying to defend him from getting the ball back.
Just don't give him the ball. Lock him down.
In that game, he took 47 shots. And he made 17 out of 47. I wasn't supposed to let him have the ball now. You got to realize.
Right.
First place, if your dad has to be coaching if you're going to shoot 47 times.
100%.
But not only that, I can honestly tell you I held Pete Maravich to 42 points that night.
That's a great game for you.
we set the record at that time in Florida State. We won 130 to 100.
Wow.
In a college basketball
with
game.
No three-point line.
And no three-point line.
Wow.
They played the worst defense zone you've ever seen. It was a little bottle zone type thing.
But they're getting it to Pete. Let him run.
Cowens also set the rebound record that night at 31. We had 4 guys that had over 20 in that game against.
How did you do?
I had about 28, something like that. But
yeah.
if it's in marriage, I remember that.
Right.
But I held him to 40.
He held him to 42.
Yeah, I shut him down.
He shut him down.
Comes down on the break. He goes between the legs on the break. He sticks the ball in my face, turns his back, bounce past it behind his back over there. I trip. I'm watching the guy lay it in the basket as I'm skidding out of bounds.
You're sliding underneath the basket. There's nothing you can do.
I'll get this ball out. That play's over.
Last time you trashed
anything. That was the only
time.
And all I said was too far. Too far, Pete.
That seemed excessive for Pete to do that.
Shit,
You're too far,
Pete. It
Pete.
seemed excessive for me to say anything.
Don't wake him up.
Durham's knuckles are bleeding. He's just beat the... And with another time, we're playing this good basketball store. We're playing Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
They recruited me a little bit out of high school, so I was like, I wanted to do good because their center I played against in high school, a kid from Carter Falls. So we're playing Georgia Tech, and we come down, and we run a little tip play to start the game. Cowens gets a tip. Got to run a little play, kick it to me, I lay it up. I got 2. I'm lighting it up tonight.
Yeah.
And I take 2 steps, I turn around, and they throw me the ball on the inbound, just decoying me. I laid it up. I got 4 points, and the game's about 8 seconds old.
Boom, boom.
I'm lighting it up.
Yep.
Well, I missed a jump shot at the end of the game from a peeper from the foul line to where I could see if the wind's blowing or not. And I missed it. We lose by 1 point. I finished the game 4 for 18 from the floor. I was 2 for 2 in 6 seconds.
2 for 2 in 6 seconds.
I was 2 for 16 from there on. So I'm trying to sneak out of there. I gotta figure out how to get home.
Right.
Because Durham's waiting.
Yeah.
I come downstairs and I go down in Tully Gym and I come around the lockers. There he's waiting.
Yeah.
He's got me. He's got me by the shirt. Once again, I'm in the locker.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm the best bleeping coach in the country and you're killing me.
You're killing me.
And I'm just going, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You got that right, but I got all my teeth so far. I'm not worried about that.
Right. Oh, that's flipping awesome.
Stuff just happens sometimes.
And it does. You get there's some stories that you tell on the baseball field too. Now, velocities right now are absurdly high.
Yes.
And you got kids in high school throwing 97. I mean, and I think it's great because the reason is all that the internet has helped, all that training and all that research come from the places where only a few had that, and it's now able to filter down. So you've got guys that have stabilization programs, and they're doing that, and they're building it usually in a very healthy way. But it's at the much lower levels where it used to be. You'd have 1 or 2 guys coming out of high school that were like that, and you actually faced a guy like that in 1966 in the minor leagues.
Down in Cocoa Beach.
A flame throwing upper
goodness.
90s, 100-ish guy, right?
His name was J.R. Richard.
J.R. Richard.
He was with Houston.
Uh-huh.
At that time, when we saw him, he was leading the Florida State League. That was my first year in pro ball. He's leading the Florida State League in strikeouts, walks, and hit batsmen. That's the worst combination for a hitter in the history of all of baseball.
It's just
6'9",
I'm hurt,
reaching back on the ground, flailing at you with stuff just blistering.
Yeah.
That I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Kind of vaporizes about 8 feet in front of home plate, and then whatever.
And it's a different sound too, isn't it? It sounds like bacon cooking.
Well, the other thing is, I really wanted to look professional.
Yeah.
I took some good swings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right on it. No, he's not. No, he wasn't. That was 100, and I can tell you right now, when they were talking about the kid from Cincinnati that was throwing 100 Chapman. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine.
105.
I can't imagine what that's like.
No.
And I saw him.
But there's a little happening that you tell that happened during that game where he comes into that game, right? Yeah. So who was your leadoff guy? Do you remember who your leadoff guy was?
Bruce Finkbeiner.
Okay.
I was hitting fourth.
You were hitting fourth.
Fourth or fifth.
Fourth or fifth in there, something like that. But the at bat, the couple of bats previous to you.
Yeah, Finkbeiner. He's a nice little draft pick we had.
Yeah.
Him and Lenny Adams, both of them are in the front of the order. Finkbeiner, he comes in, he don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Adams is sitting in
strikes out.
Yeah. Sitting in the 2 hole, and then in the 1 hole. And then Lenny Adams comes up, so I'm going through the bat rack. Our number 3 hitter, Joe Staten, who got the big leagues a little bit, first baseman, he's coming up to hit. Adams is walking by me. He just looks at me and goes, "Oh, you're not going to believe it." That's all I can say.
after Kane.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe it.
The first 2 guys struck out. He goes, "You're not going to believe it." So this is not good. Oh my God. It's a doubleheader. We get the bad lights in Cocoa anyways.
Yeah.
Staten's hitting, number 3 hitter. He hits a line drive on a 3-1 give-up pitch. He just threw it in there. And he hits it between J.R. Richards' fingers and popped. Split that area.
He reached up with his bare hand.
Yes.
Which you're taught never to do.
Never.
And the ball splits
his fingers.
And cuts him.
And I'm on deck. The ball's going, the blood is jumping out of his hand. I don't know what a Mexican hat dance looks like, but I was doing one. I was over there. I'm not seeing him this trip.
Somebody else, right?
That's on later.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that was, it was so scary whenever you could just see the blood, because this guy's going to go.
Oh, sure.
And he just recently passed away. He was homeless under a bridge in Houston.
Really a tragic ending. The organization failed a little bit on him. And of course, at that time, too, the technology really,
He had a stroke.
And that was really, really unfortunate. But he threw hard.
Never seen anything like that. Never wanted to again, ever to.
Yeah.
Saw a couple of guys. Houston always had guys that could bring it.
Yeah.
But nothing like JR. It was just silly.
That is sick. It is. And I've in college, I got to face in the low 90s. I didn't face anybody.
That was plenty, wasn't it?
I knew. And everybody go, I could have been this, I could have been this. I'm going, I'm not sure I can get 95. I'm not sure, man. They float around 90, I can get a little bit. But
even when you cheat.
I'm not so, maybe I should start coaching here. Now, there's another story that you told where there's two more I want you to tell, where there was a fight that broke out. Now, fighting now, that is not, nobody does that at any level.
No.
There is no fighting at any level, and there's no running into the catcher, which is fine, stuff like that. But and certainly in Detroit, and during your time, it was a little bit different. Fights did happen.
It did happen, yeah.
And that was that unwritten territorial thing, pitchers and hitters and stuff. But you had an interesting story, and you got into a fight in the minor leagues, interestingly.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting fight that you got into.
We were playing the Royals, and a name that will come familiar to a lot of people because they had the academy. He's one of the guys the academy produces was Frank White.
Now, what's the academy?
That was a baseball academy that was in Boardwalk in baseball. The Royals, they took athletes, let's make them baseball.
Let's make them baseball.
Al Cowens and Frank White were the two, and they were in the minor leagues.
Right.
So we're playing them, and we had a crazy left-handed pitcher from, he was in Vietnam, and they had...
So a little off, struggle a little bit.
A bit different.
A little bit, yeah.
And so we're playing them, and we had a guy named Raul Colon, first baseman. He's our cleanup hitter, and he hit a ball to the moon against the Royals. He got
home run. It just hammered it.
Gone. Gets to first base, turns around, he runs backwards to second. He runs backwards to third. He runs backwards to home. Frank Wathen was
He runs backwards around the bases
after it went over.
Totally showing him up.
Totally. So the catcher was John Wathen. Remember the manager for the Royals?
Yeah.
Their manager was Billy Gardner.
Okay, yeah.
I'm on John.
You're on that.
Yeah, I'm hitting that.
You're hitting that. After he just ran around the bases backwards showing him up. I'm up next.
I said, John, don't do it.
You're talking to the catcher. Don't do it.
We knew everybody knows it.
You're going to get it.
He looks at me.
Got to do it.
He goes like this. Billy Martin's on the top of the dugout. He's ready. It's on.
He's ready to go.
It's coming. It is going to be this is really going to get bad.
Right.
I get hit in the ribs.
Yeah.
No, I'm not allowed to rub.
No.
You can't rub.
No.
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I think I died.
It hurts.
I get to first base. Frank Hortenzio's got a black belt, and he's about 290 pounds. Hits bombs, and I'm going down. This is really, really bad.
Yeah.
I get to second base. Frank White's playing playing short back then, and Chicken McLaughlin, the other guy's at second. We know this is...
Great nickname, by the way, Chicken McLaughlin.
Yeah, we know this is going to happen. There's going to be a brawl here, and just any time it's going to happen quick.
Yep.
Okay. If this thing breaks out, we're all talking because the manager's going out there and goes, I'm going to meet you behind second base.
You're talking?
Yes.
To Chicken McLaughlin?
I'm already can't breathe.
Right. But you're talking to the other middle
Chicken and Frank
White.
We're going to meet out here behind second base. We ain't going in there.
Right.
Deal. So
you made a deal.
Yes,
nobody is going to blow up.
No, we're not. I'm done getting hurt.
Right.
So anyway, we come around. Our left-handed pitcher, Charlie Coon, never forget it as long as I live, hits Wathen in the head. The catcher.
It's on.
Yeah, you police yourselves in those days.
Yeah.
He takes Wathen down. Watson, by the time he gets up, he's charging the pitcher. Ronnie Cash, the relative of the manager for the clotheslines, Watson on the way to the mound. Okay, I'm playing short. I'm running to center field. I look up. Here comes Chicken and Frank White out of the other dugout. We're in center field. We pull our shirts out, throw our hats down, scuff ourselves in the grass. We're doing NWA wrestling music.
Headlocks and drop kicks and everybody over there. The hell out of each other.
When it was all done, we're all doing just all sweating and everything. They kicked everybody out on our team except the guys on the field, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. Billy's gone. Billy Gardner. Anyway. So what happened? I was just kicking some ass out there.
Are you kidding me? All the while, you're dropping.
I never told anybody. Because there was a brawl going on in there.
I ain't getting in there.
We were one guy short.
Right.
It was me.
Right. I ain't getting in there. I'm done getting hurt today.
In the same game, we got all these people thrown out. So we only had a few.
Yeah.
Our backup guy comes in. He can't play anywhere on the right side of the infield.
He can't play on the right side of the infield?
No, he's our utility guy.
Okay.
So I was shortstop there. I'll go over there. Crap.
Go a second.
Yeah. We have no manager. Half it's gone.
Yeah.
So we're managers.
Right. Fair enough.
Only the guys. So we got 9. The pitcher could give up 50 runs. We didn't have anybody to go back out there. So they hit a ground ball to third. And there's already nobody's got any control over anything. Everything is lost.
Yeah.
Hit a ground ball to third. They had a guy on first. They throw me the ball at second for a double play. I step on second. Then I get about 10 or 12 feet toward third. I'm nowhere near second. Take the throw from third, throw it to first. The guy rings him at second. He's so safe, I was embarrassed. I'm not close to the bag.
You're not even the same zip code.
It was
absurd.
It was ridiculous. And so, boom, he's over there. So their assistant coach is coming out. He's screaming at this umpire, a little Italian guy. He just rung a double play up. And both guys, I was so bad.
Yeah.
So he gets around, and this Italian guy just taking a beat, the little umpire, because he knew.
Right.
So the guy finally leaves. They get another guy on. He steals second. I go over, cover the bag, lay the tag down. He's out from, 5, 6 feet. He saves him.
Same umpire.
Same umpire. Same little Italian guy.
Saves him.
I'm starting after him. It's my turn now.
Yeah.
I'm all ready. I can't breathe. There's a lot of bad things about
bad stuff
tonight.
Right.
And I start getting on him. He takes his hat off. He throws it. He gets this far from my face. He goes, "Listen, Hogan, you think I think? I know I stink. I'm the worst guy. They're rating umpires up there. They're all up in the seats. They
rate them.
They were up there looking at umpires to see who was going to move. He got released the next day. I cost that guy his job.
I know how bad I stink.
He was this tall. He goes, "You think I stink? I know. I'm the worst. I don't know why I do this." He just, and I'm like, and so Hatfield was looking up through the tunnel.
Yeah.
He's going, "What was going on out there?" I started laughing. He just told me he stunk. And then he doesn't deserve to be in professional baseball. I'm like, "You're right."
And soon after, was it?
No, the next morning. Because we had another game with Kansas City.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Some funny stuff happens. The third baseman goes, me no fight. Some relief pitcher. Chin
smoked him.
He just goes over in his back. We're on the bus going back. He's going, "Oh man, my head is killing me, man." Telling me no fight. Cold cocked him.
Minor leagues.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Doesn't happen anymore.
No, I'm winning one. Running in one in Lakeland, just had no business going in there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, the shortstop was playing the big leagues with the Red Sox, hit me right there. The whole top of my ear was black and blue. He apologized later. That didn't help.
No, my ear still hurts.
It was purple. It's two-toned ear.
We had, there's one more I want to tell here. And this one, and of course, as much as you want to go, we'll go. You and I were coaching. We had made the first bid to the state to postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in. Now we were a low seed, so we had a very early game, and I'm in charge of all the scouting. So I've got all the advanced scouting, and I've got all that kind of stuff. So we hear that their superstar, Kevin McGlinchey, flame-throwing right-hander.
He's upper 90s.
Upper 90s, played in the big leagues for a while, that kind of stuff. He is not pitching. He's going to the draft. And we were playing, I think it was Central Florida. I can't remember who we were playing, but we're like, okay, we're good. We're not going to say. So it's an early game, 10 o'clock. I mean, not 8:30 BP. It was terrible. And of course, against him, it's 1,000 degrees already. It's so daggone hot. And I'm down doing my pregame with our starting catcher, and there's nobody in the stands for this early game. And all I hear is, "Sa-pow, sa-pow," coming from the other side. And we get word he's pitching today. Oh, man, so we got to completely change the game plan. Now, that club was stacked. We were pretty good. Ryan Friel played in the big league 7 years, our leadoff guy. Trish Moore, right in there, played at the University of Miami. And then we also had, right in the middle of that lineup was Brian Cox, who played at FSU. All-American. First team All-American. And then went, pro after that. But there was an incident that happened during that game, which didn't break into a fight, but it was certainly funny. Not at the time, but it was funny. McGlinchey's team was not very good defensively. Those guys weren't particularly good.
Was that Coach's team over there in Jacksonville?
That was Coach's team.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Coach's team. That was who we got the scouting report from. We got it from Blackie and those guys from Coach's team. But it was, anyway. So McGlinchey, I'm teeing this up for you. But McGlinchey's out there, and, we're not really hitting them on the barrel.
No.
And they're not making plays behind them either. And we're, third or fourth inning, and they make like the third error in a row. And McGlinchey, I think, what happened now? Ryan got on first, right?
I'm trying to remember this.
Ryan was on first. And then here's what I remember. Cox is coming up to hit. Brian Cox is coming up to hit. And we kind of got it. They're folding a little bit, right? They make the third error in a row. And McGlinchey is behind the mound. And we were doing your thing, and I'm working and stuff like that, and you hear him scream the F word, and slam the ball into his mitt and get back in the mound and go, "Get in there!"
Talking to
Brian Cox. And, Brian's a tough kid.
Oh, yeah.
But McGlinchey is
6'5", 6'6".
Kind of monstrous.
Going on upper 90s.
And you know exactly what's coming. And we didn't earn anything. They were just terrible on that day. They were a good team. They were playing really poorly.
I think we won that game.
We won that game, right.
With McGlinchey on the hill in the first round pick.
Exactly. So the next pitch comes up at about 1,000 miles an hour. And Brian Cox starts to scream when McGlinchey is right here. It already hurts, and it's coming. And it just stopped. When it hit him, it went straight down. And he is doing the best he can. Tough kid, doing the best he can to stand up, and he keeps falling down. His legs stop working. And he starts hobbling over to you at third base.
Like I'm supposed to do what?
Right, but he's going to the wrong base. And you go, Brian, go to Leo. And I'm at first. Come to me, big guy. Come to me. I got you.
I do remember him hollering before the ball.
Screaming. And the ball wasn't even released yet. It was right.
Well, everybody knew what was going on.
You know what the funny part about that is? I got to get Brian on here to talk about it. He's in the Braves organization. Brian is in the Braves organization. This is years later, I was talking to Brian about this. And I was talking about that story, and he just let me go. He goes, I got a continuation to that. I'm in the Braves organization, and I'm in the locker room, and I'm hurt. He had an ankle or something like that. And I said, we just traded for somebody, and I'm hearing somebody talk about a postseason game where he smoked somebody in the ribs. He started screaming before he let the pitch out, and he goes, "Hey, that was me." They were on the same. They traded for McGlinchey. They were on the same thing. They ended up being good buddies.
I hope.
They ended up being good buddies about that. But yeah, that was me.
I want to see that inter-squad. Oh, man.
Oh, that's great stuff. Well, Jeff, we're at the end here. It's 10-5. I got 10 questions for you and 5 big questions for you. All right? So everybody gets this, 10 and 5. So you just answer these what comes to your mind here. So first 10, you ready? Seeds or gum?
Gum.
Okay. Day game or night?
Day.
Grass or turf?
Grass.
All right. DH or pitcher hit?
Pitcher hit.
Why?
It's part of the game. It's how I grew up.
That's how you grew up. Batting gloves or bare hand?
Bare hand.
Yeah? Straight up bare hand?
Never used batting.
Never used batting gloves?
No.
Just toughen them up and go?
No, I just didn't feel right.
Didn't feel right. Didn't like it. Okay. Pullover jersey or button up?
Pullover.
You like the pullover?
Because they wouldn't let us use a button up in college. We got to the last inning with the lead. We would unbutton the top one and then the second one. And it looked like we were undressing during the game. And Jack Stallings made us quit the pull.
You're just letting them know that's an out. That's another out.
Exactly right. Me and the second baseman started that. And we looked out there and everybody's shirts are hanging out. Like 1-run lead, bases loaded.
Yeah, so it's pullover for you from now on.
Because of that, yeah.
Socks or stirrups?
Socks.
They're easier, aren't they?
Yeah.
So much easier.
Yeah.
I hated stirrups.
That's all we had.
That's all. And the sanitary socks were awful. I had to throw mine out every day. I'm a catcher.
That's right. They were gamey.
Oh, they were gamey. I couldn't stand it. Long pants or knickers?
Ooh, I like long because I never wore them.
Yeah.
I like long with the socks. I never wore those.
Did you show sock? Or did you want it all the way down your game pants, all the way down? Yeah.
Oh, I would like to show just a
little bit
at the bottom.
Yeah, see.
Just the color, just to get a red or a blue.
Right. So down to the ankle.
Yeah.
Down to the ankle. All right. Sports drink. What's your color?
Ooh, orange.
Orange. Why?
Just that was the early one.
That was the early one. You had green or orange, and that was
the first ones. That's what we had.
That's all you had.
And we used to call it Seminole Firewater because we refused to say Gatorade.
Yeah, because allegedly it came from the University of Florida.
Yeah.
But
and Don Falls will swear to this day that he's the one that did it.
Yeah.
We don't give the Gators credit for much.
Not a lot. All right. 5 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What accomplishment, and this can be about anything, it doesn't matter, what accomplishment are you the most proud of?
I would say going into the Florida State University Athletic Hall of Fame and being the only person to that year, and maybe still, that started on an NCAA bid team in basketball and in baseball in the same year.
That's quite an accomplishment. So as an athlete going in to sport, NCAA postseason 2 sport.
In the same year.
In the same year.
Yeah.
That's.
And I didn't realize that. Hugh Durham told me that, who I told you I'm a much better friend, and we're friends now.
Yeah. That is.
He's
really
the one that
cool.
told me. I didn't even know. I didn't even think about it.
Well, you're in the sport. You're in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're also in the FSU's Hall of Fame.
Florida High.
Florida High
In Ohio.
Ohio as a high school athlete, you're in their Hall of Fame as well.
In baseball up there.
In
Coaches
baseball.
Hall of Fame.
Coaches Hall of Fame, yeah. Best. Okay, is there a loss that haunts you?
Yes. In 13 years, we lost to North Florida Christian once.
Okay, this is high school. You were coaching in high school.
Once.
You lost to your rival.
Yeah. Well, it's one of them. It's one of the worst days in my life.
Why?
Because of who's over there.
We don't need to go into that, do we? We don't need to go into that. Was a bit of a rivalry, and that was a get after her. But those that know, you'll know.
Yeah, we were like 20-something and 1 against them. That was awful.
Okay, yeah, because we have losses that haunt us.
That was one.
We can't forget about it. Best tip, trick, piece of advice you ever got, and from who?
Don Falls.
Don Falls, who was again
the trainer at Florida State.
The trainer for
basketball, baseball, football.
For years.
He was the guy. The whole country knows knew Don Falls.
Kind of a legend, yeah.
And it was kind of simple. And I was in my senior year, and I got invited to try out for the Pan American team, United States Pan Am Games.
As a
baseball.
Baseball.
And it was right at the start of basketball season.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really torn because we were on probation in basketball.
But you weren't on probation.
No, the team.
It was a scholarship.
Right. The team was recruiting,
right.
Because of whatever. So I go to Don Falls, who is, to this day, I just love that guy. But I explained it to him. Without him giving me an answer, he just goes about this. You got these teammates, you got that, whatever. So I said, I got you. So I didn't go.
You didn't go to Penn?
No. I said, hey, it's basketball. I've been with these guys for 4 years. That's just, he never said it that way. He never said this is what you ought to do.
Right.
But he was that guy, and I knew what he was trying to tell me. He wouldn't. And then after basketball season was over, I got picked to play in the North-South All-Star basketball game, which happens during baseball season.
You're right.
I go back to Don Falls. Don Falls goes, Hogue, we've been through this. I went back, turned it down, went to play baseball, missed them both.
Because you're teammates. It's about your teammates and commitment to your school.
It was my 4 years that I went where I was at the best place I could have ever been.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade Florida State for nothing.
Great coaches, great. Right.
And, people said, what was the most, I would give up everything before I would give up college basketball.
Yeah.
That was the cat's butt right there.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot.
You go into North Carolina and Blue Heaven up there, and there's 20,000 people that hate your guts.
Yeah.
Or down to Florida, or it's just different.
College baseball, college athletics.
They're there for the right reason.
It is magic. It's
absolutely
magic.
Everybody's there for the right reason.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in pro ball.
No.
You don't get that really in high school.
No.
But there in college, man, you better make those grades. You're not going to be eligible. You're not going to be part of this. This is special.
It is very special. And it is 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, guys will come back and they'll pick up right where they left off.
I talked to, the guys that are left. We've lost so many basketball players, but I talked to guys that I hung out with in college. Gary Sprague is a first-team All-American shortstop at FSU. Jeff Sprague's dad,
right?
Play golf with him twice a week.
Yeah.
When I was at their apartment more than I was with them at the dorm.
Right.
And I talk to Collins once a month or sometimes more. Randy Cable lives here. Jan Geis, we raise some money.
David Geis played for us. His son, whose sons are elite soccer players, right? Yeah, but that college experience is, and it doesn't matter if it's FSU. That's not the point.
No.
It is magical.
It is. It's so different.
Yeah.
And people, you can tell them about it. If they don't experience, they don't get it.
It's the difference between looking down at the field and looking up from it.
Ooh.
It's just different. And you're right. There aren't words to describe it.
I don't think you can. I mean, even coaching in a state all-star game or coaching in a state championship game or, playing a state, it's just things that you can't replicate.
Mm-mm.
You have to live it.
It's coveted. It is such a cherished moment and absolutely coveted. If you could go back in time now, would you do anything differently? Would you change something?
Not school-wise. I would think if I were to change something, I think I might have given I had a chance to go to University of Central Florida as the baseball coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they could not get my wife a teaching position down here one time. Bill Peterson was fundraiser AD, and I turned it down, and I probably should have taken it. Worry about my wife getting a job later.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that if you did that, I'd have never met you.
Yeah. Well, maybe I recruited you.
Maybe you would have recruited me. I don't know. Last question right here. When it's all over said and done, how do you want people to remember you?
That I was in it for the right reason. When I turned down some chances to go into scouting and some pro coaching opportunities and whatever, that I learned early on when I started coaching in not the professional ranks. In
high school and college.
That's where I needed to be.
Right.
Because I could do more good. Because I think there's a lot of people that aren't too worried about shaping kids' lives as much as they're worrying about winning and losing. It's amazing, but both of those will go hand in hand if you'll let it.
And it's amazing too. And again, I write about this in the book, and I've derived this from the lessons that I've learned from you over the years. When coaches, no matter what level, covet the win more than they covet the player, they'll serve the win over the player, over their health. But if you serve the player, truly and authentically serve the player, and they all will say this, it's player development. And the podcast is named Player Development Podcast. They all say the same thing, but if you can't measure the action, if you can't look at it and say, yes, I see that action as servicing the player, the wins will come. If you
I think there's no question.
There's no question.
And I look at different things like I'm close to all the basketball players that are still alive that were on FSU. I mean, when they come to town, they stay at my house.
Right.
The Florida High baseball players they're the closest of all the baseball players. I guarantee you got Brian Cox, David Ross, Kevin Ricks, and those guys they hang.
Yeah.
And even though they live in different parts of the country, Jared Martins and whatever, Bertoldi, they're still around. And you can't get that bond anywhere else.
No, I agree. And you have to covet that.
There's another thing.
It has to be important.
Just really quick. You can edit this out of it. I'm going to tell you what. I think the military and athletics are the two places where genuinely racism is not a problem. I'm in Pro Bowl. One of my best buddies, Joe Staten.
Yeah.
And for crying out loud, he'd go to war for me out there.
Yeah.
When you look at basketball, Skip Young, Willie Williams, John Burt, all those guys. It's different there.
Yeah.
There in the military, you got to have each other's back. We're in this together.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's and you talked about this a lot. Where who cares? I don't care what color, what religion, what sexual preference my offensive linemen are.
It makes no
difference. Keep those other guys off me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
No.
If it does make a difference, you don't need to get into this field we're in.
No. Because you're going to share it. You spend so much time together,
Ugh.
and it's not comfortable to take a 10-hour bus ride. I wouldn't change one of them. I wouldn't take one of them back.
And the only big thing is you just got to have a guy that plays the guitar.
You gotta have a guy that plays the guitar.
A guy that's strumming it up back here. You find some people, they don't sing any better than I do, but they're getting right in, don't matter.
It don't matter.
Right.
Brother,